Welcome to today's Bridge Show. Holy Moses, what a show we have for you. So I can't, I'm sittering with Christmas kind of apprehension. So let the show begin. And welcome to our Oslo-based IP studio in the basement of our HQ. And as you can see, the Christmas is here. We actually moved in our phenomenal Christmas tree because today we are talking about one of our absolute favorite partners. And this is, of course, Riedel from Germany, one of the most significant names in any form of intercommunication in big projects. If you've been listening to the Eurovision Song Concert, if you've been absolutely watching Formula One, if you've been seeing anything of significance, that's the guys responsible. We are very, very proud to have them on this show. And of course, on the show today will be Jake. And this is absolutely amazing. It's the pure honor to have you. So welcome, Jake.
Well, thank you very much. What an introduction that was.
Well, it's all deserved. It's amazing because with the help of technology, of course, we have you live from Wuppertal here, and we've been partners for quite some time. It's now well over, I think, a couple of years since we were to one of the famous Interop seminars organized by Ames in your excellent campus in Wuppertal. And we immediately kind of found the tone, I feel.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember it well. And that initial click when you come across someone where you think, wow, there are two companies that think about innovation and the future and how do we drive change. And of course, that spawned the conversations that actually led into some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today with the 1200 series SmartPanel.
Absolutely, because again, one of the key thing is, of course, the IPification and the amazing thing with IP. And you have been utilizing IP as the backbone of huge systems, particularly for, of course, all audio and intercommunication, but of course for video as well for quite some time. You're actually a much bigger video company than people really think you are.
We are. I mean, our MediaNet products have been in the market for many, many years. We've traditionally taken a decentralized approach, and we've been moving that approach through from baseband systems into IP video. And of course, our acquisition last year of Embryonics, bringing in a whole suite of new IP video technologies into the market. So IP is in our DNA. I mean, I always like to talk about IP as kind of synchronized layer 3 because it obviously in the past IP could be anything from VoIP, and nowadays we're talking about fully synchronized networks that are very different animals to the IP networks of the past.
Oh, absolutely, and also with the capability of providing the redundancy necessary for having huge projects actually done right. And a lot of people sometimes, erroneously, I feel, depicts IP as something that, we can cut costs and we can be more flexible, and of course be more flexible, that's a good point. But also you can be safer, you can make production better, you can have a much higher quality. And mixing, again, audio and video, that's very exciting.
Yeah, and I mean, I think if we look at the evolution of the IP network, I mean, it's really, I mean, the real big milestone was probably back in late 2017 when the SMPTE 2110 standard was really ratified, because up until that point you had many companies with some very cool, wonderful technologies, but everybody had their own bit of flavor here and there, and as a customer, what you're looking for in IP, you're looking to bring everything together into one network. Yes. But obviously, then you need a certain amount of standardization for that to occur. And so I think that was really the beginning of where the industry really turned a corner, on the whole synchronized IP front, that now has enabled multiple companies to get together to demonstrate very good interoperability initiatives like the JTNM certified, initiatives, where you're demonstrating products working together. But of course, then it's raised a whole bunch of additional questions for us all to answer.
Yeah, because as you say, it's like the standardization committees and the standardization bodies, their kind of let's say doohickey would be to provide the framework, and then of course let the marketplace do the rest, so that you suddenly have a plethora of, first of all, interoperability, as you say, it's super important, but then also to build the next layer upon it, which maybe the standardization bodies never thought of, which again is very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and we've seen this, right? We've seen a lot of the conversations over the last few years have all been about, people talk about IP, but they're really talking about just the transport part, and that's just a tiny part of the equation.
Yes.
Once you've got the transport in place, you've got to think about how you interconnect devices, how you connect streams together, how you actually manage and control all of this. And of course, in the early phases of all of this, what we all see is actually the complexity actually goes up rather than down initially. And then as we all mature out our offerings and solutions in the IP space, we move from that, okay, we've got working technology where we can actually connect and interconnect everything, but now we have to make everything easy to use and simple. If we're going to get that truly kind of flexible, dynamic, scalable production that really everybody is keen to get to.
Well, it's very true, and I must say that we had a slogan for quite some time, which is complexity. It's simple, and the purpose with that was exactly what you're saying here, is to make a lot of these seeming very complex things extremely simple, because we are dealing not only with engineers and technicians, we're dealing with creatives that should be focused on actually then managing to make some excitement for the audience, and shouldn't be concerned in the first place of doing all the engineering. So I totally agree, Jake. That's a very, very good point. But let's go and dive deep into some of the nitty-gritty here, because one of the nice things that we're going to talk about is, of course, the 1200 series smart panels. I'm in love, I must say. It's really, really beautiful, and I remember when I first laid my hands on it and felt the tactileness, the extreme precision this was done with, and when you then have the ability to control devices and to actually, just by having beautiful buttons, that's really something, Jake? Oh boy, I bet you're proud of it too.
Well, I am. I mean, it's one of my babies, so to speak. And when we set out to do the 1200, I mean, the key itself is we call it a hybrid lever key, not just a lever key, because when we set out, there was a joke within Riedel that we'll never do a lever key panel, right? Because we're a push button company, and I looked at this and said, well, let's not say that we'll never do a lever key. Let's say that if we do a lever key, let's create the best lever key that we can possibly conceive of. And so just the physicality of that interaction was a 1.5 year design cycle, where we did engineering studies, we did tests with customers. We have a magnetic haptic response that allows the key to kind of fall off a cliff. And so the technology under something as basic as pressing something on a panel, if done well, can really transform the experience that the user has. And at the end of the day, we see this panel as a user interface. It happens to be an intercom panel, but it can be other things too. So the actual interaction with the panel and trying to create something that can also help simplify the information in front of the user as the complexity potentially in the production goes up. Yeah. That's something that these were core design goals that we had with the 1200.
Because it's like, one of the key things I reacted to is the programmability here. And that means that instead of having a dedicated only communications panel, which is fine because communications is one of those things you really, really need to have dedicated because you have to be able to reach people instantly. But to be able to utilize that in many more kind of let's say, types of usage is very important. And I know that right now you not only launched I think it is a week ago, the 1-rack unit version of the 2-rack unit SmartPanel,
Yes.
which has been with us for some time, but also you added on to it some extremely nice applications, and one of them is for audio, right?
Yeah, so the way that we approached the whole kind of smart panel concept, which actually originated with our 2300 series panel back in kind of 2014, 2015. Obviously, the 1200 is now, if you like, the next the next wave of this concept. But we said, look, let's take a nod from the smart panel concept, where you actually separate out the user interface and the hardware from the application.
Yeah.
And so if you then create something that has, a touch screen element, or in this case, multiple touch screens, it has physical keys, it has rotaries, and then you can create different applications for different functions. And of course, that means that in the case of the smart panel here, right now we have the intercom application, and actually you're showing it on your screen behind you. This, the next wave of that, because we actually made sure that the panel itself has a lot of powerful processing. We actually implemented a mixer, so we've got an audio mixer inside the panel. So what we can now do is take completely independent AS67 or 2110-30 IP streams directly from the network and mix them locally in the panel.
Oh, Jake, this is just wonderful, and that means, of course, that there's no limit to this panel. And let's move on and actually try to think about other applications, because one thing is the audio application, which again will free a lot of rack space from these outside broadcast vehicles and broadcast centers for that matter. But let's talk about the other app that enables nearly unlimited type of functionality. And I must say that we kind of cheated and did demonstrate some of this at IBC last year.
That's right. Yeah, this is something that's currently in development. So we showed a technology demonstrator in partnership with you guys at IBC, and this idea was born out of the fact we've done control panel applications in the past for our 2300 series panel. And that was based around using Ember Plus as a protocol. But one of the issues that you face is that everybody has their own different Ember Plus tree, and the Ember Plus trees evolve all the time. So actually trying to maintain the continuous functionality when companies are changing their Ember Plus trees is a lot of effort. It's a big challenge.
Yeah.
So we decided to take a completely different approach. And as you look at NMOS, how NMOS has been evolving, really ISO 4 and 05 have been used as standards around discovery and connectivity. But there's a very, very interesting one, which is basically an IP tally mechanism called NMOS ISO 7.
Yeah.
And so what we've actually done is we've created an API where we actually use the panel, and we basically fire ISO 7 commands into the network, and they get picked up by a third-party system. That could be a broadcast controller, or in your case, it's picked up by your system and actually then used to then manipulate a device. In the case of our partnership, the IP probe. And then information can be sent back to the panel. That can be an LED state, a display. So basically, the third party or customer can completely customize the application and use the hardware interface of the panel for whatever they want, which really opens up a future of unlimited possibilities, limited only by the number of keys that we have on the panel, or the touchscreen capability of the rotaries, etc., etc. So it's a very powerful, or potentially powerful, and very flexible concept, we think.
Yeah.
And of course, it will be limited mainly by people's imagination, and we know that people's imagination will come up with all sorts of cool ideas in the future, I'm sure.
Yeah, but it makes also perfect sense because, again, it's not only a tactile control surface, it actually goes the other way as well. So you display physical data on that surface so that everything is two-way. And that is very, very important for the real perception and the usage. So it's not only a one-way street. And one thing that we pretty much were very, very amazed of is how low latency and real time we can actually get that communication, so that when you push the button, something really happens. There's no delay, there's no nothing. And that means that suddenly you will start utilizing this in your normal workflow to the fullest extent. And as we both, I know, agree, is that one thing we got to get rid of in broadcast environments is more keyboard and mice. Let's do, you know, an exterminator to get rid of those things in an outside broadcast vehicle and in broadcast centers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in a production environment, it's demanding, right, on hardware. So we have keys that are designed for hundreds of thousands of cycles. We have the ability to rest your fingers on the keys before you press them, because actually in a production you're interested in what's happening with the talent or something you're queuing, right? You're not interested in looking down at what you're pressing. No. And so the hardware interface is really important. And of course we see the increase in software-defined interfaces as well, and iPad devices and all this kind of stuff. And of course there's an increasing role for those types of solutions. But having a physical, tactile, haptic panel where you can feel something, there's absolutely a core place for this in the production of tomorrow, I think.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. And if we skip, to the next slide here, that was from the demonstration that we did together, and that demonstration dealt with the ability to control our kind of interesting widglets, which is basically then a HTML5 embedded video monitor, and to control everything to the precision of your panel. And people were blown away by it because, again, it's not that usual to have this kind of tight integration unless it comes from the same company, actually. And the ISO 7 interface was providing to be a very, very nice conduit for that tactileness. And I must say that again, I'm looking forward to the future where we can supplant a lot of different equipment with less equipment, which can do more in a broadcast environment with this kind of high level and also very, very serious types of integration.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course there's a utilization advantage, right? Because if you've got one piece of hardware that does multiple things, you need less spares. It gives you the potential to have more flexibility at each workstation, because you can repurpose for different productions, for different operations. So I mean, we all have the demands of how we reduce costs in our production and how we get more efficiencies. And our hope is that the 1200 series and SmartPanel can really kind of help that and improve overall utilization for our customers, because there's a cost benefit for them.
Absolutely. Now, Jake, you already sold us on this one, that's for sure. We are very enthusiastic because, again, this happens to be about reality. It has to work every day. It has to provide a benefit. And, one thing is now the tactileness, the technology and everything, but let's bring some culture into it. We actually had our amazing, mad musical genius. He did actually do something that, Jake, we'll see if you like it. He actually mixed some very nice classical music with the ability of utilizing the Riedel panel. Let's have a look.
Wonderful.
A big thanks to Anna, and I guess that you've never seen that kind of use of a 1200 SmartPanel before.
Absolutely not. As I say, you know, people's creativity is endless, and it's a wonderful demonstration of, you know, just, you know, using the smart panel, you know, thinking outside of the box, and then doing something, you know, with the flexibility that we can offer. So wonderful. Thank you for that.
No, but thank you, Jake. It's been a pure pleasure having you live from Wuppertal on this marvelous Tuesday. And I'll let you go back to the busy schedule that you have. And basically, again, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
And then see you soon, hopefully at the live event near somewhere. But in the meantime, then again, a big thank you to our resident musical mad genius, and of course to Anna, which did a fantastic job here. And of course, don't forget to tune in next Tuesday for more from our amazing IP-based studio here in Oslo, Norway. So in the meantime, have a great week, guys.